Hello and welcome to the Blue Button broadcast. This is the Accunet Ambassadors feed. My name is David Wickert. I am the president and managing owner at Accunet Mortgage, where my individual NMLS ID is 328847. And I'm joined today by Mr. Fred Coleman, branch director at Annex Wealth Management at the Pfister location. Did you say Pfister and Mequon combo?
That's right. That's right. So the Milwaukee branch is located in the Pfister Hotel, but we also have a presence in Mequon. So yeah, double dipping right now.
We we went up to Bookworm Garden on over the weekend in Sheboygan, and I
Okay.
drove right by the annex office right there off of 43, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. So yeah,
Okay, so
you,
when I drive that way, I'll just wave at a window that I think you might be working at
yeah,
inside that branch.
yeah, beep the horn. Or you driving a semi or somewhere I can hear the horn.
Have you? Yeah. Have you? Has it been like just construction madness outside of that branch up and down 43 as they've been making whole new freeways?
Isn't it construction everywhere, right?
Yes.
But yeah, 43. I feel like 43 has been going through construction for the last 15 years.
Yes.
Um, and it's still backed up. So when you come up
This
with a solution, let me know.
yeah, this conversation suddenly became a very local conversation because if anybody outside of southeastern Wisconsin, they're gonna be like, what is 43?
Yeah,
Is that a jersey number? Is that a pitcher for the Brewers? No.
yeah.
It's a road.
Backups and potholes. That's local talk. So
Exactly. Exactly. So Fred, hello and welcome. I appreciate you carving out a couple of minutes for us to connect. And as I try to begin with an icebreaker, because interviews and conversations are strange. Like if you were an anthropologist and you just like viewed two people talking to each other, you'd think it was this like odd ritual. So I just try to make it less weird by trying to talk about normal stuff. So here's my prompt, and I'll go first.
go.
What is the last trip that you made? I think I'm getting on an airplane maybe is my filter. And then what is the next trip that is on the horizon, but you don't have the uh, airplane ticket booked yet? So I'll go first. My wife and I we went up to Montreal in July for her birthday, which was lovely.
Okay.
Um, and and now the next trip that we want to make, uh, she's like, I want to go back. Can we go to like Prince Edward Island or Nova Scotia? Like, and she wants to go again in July because I think if you're gonna go to like Halifax, well, you want it to be July if you're in Nova Scotia, because otherwise it's, you know, wet, snowy, northerly.
Well,
Those are my answers. The most recent and the next. What about you and your family?
yeah. You called me at the right time. So my family and I, we just came back from Disney a few weeks ago. Um,
Okay.
and you can probably imagine you traveling. So I got a 12-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old, right? So you can imagine lugging all that stuff through the airport, getting it in a rental car, going
Oh,
through that whole process, right?
what are you talking about? Your kids should have carried you in to Disney because you're the dad. You're like, I am taking you to Disney. You are welcome. And so you may carry me in is
Yeah,
what it should have been.
it's a lot of values that still have to be instilled in them. So yeah, I think we understand all the trouble and all the things you got to go through just to get them there, and they just get there and they're just like, oh, we're here, right? I'm like,
Okay.
I had to wait over 30 years to be able to go to Disney, and this is their second or third time going. So,
Amazing.
but I will say it was a magical experience, right? So,
Are you on the branding team? A magical experience.
hey,
Amazing.
Disney, if you're listening,
Yeah. Sponsorships available. Call now. All right.
And
So,
they might charge me just for saying their name, so you gotta be careful with that
uh,
one.
all right. But so that's what was.
Yep.
What's next? Is it Dad? Take us back to Disney, or is it something else?
Yeah, yeah. Again, Disney was great. But after something like that, and then especially after a long summer, so I'm gonna cheat a little bit, because we got another vacation coming up in a few weeks that is booked. Um, so my wife and I, we're going to Jamaica. So one of my favorite vacation spots. You talk about the opposite. So I'm not even though I live here in Wisconsin, not a big snow guy. I'd rather be on an island
Yeah,
somewhere. You
you
know.
were you were telling me whatever it was last time that you're a heat guy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you probably asked like, why am I here, right?
No,
But it makes vacation better.
yeah, because you just treasure it that much more.
You treasure it. You treasure it. Yeah.
See, my wife is the opposite because she was walking through a store yesterday and there was Halloween stuff already on the shelves. She's like, I'm ready to cancel summer. I'm ready for it to be fall time.
Oh
So
man,
just done with the heat.
that just breaks my heart.
Well, okay. And this, I'm not this good, but your story about Disney kind of is like the perfect example of how that is the goal. That is the point. That, like, yes, a client can log into their Annex online portal and they can look at PDFs of the current balance, the second by second value of their assets. But that's not really the pursuit. It's then you're going to take the money and turn it into things like memories and trips. Did you feel like you were living like the advice that you try to give clients as you took that family trip?
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect analogy, right? Because we talk about just going back to me taking my family to Disney. All the costs and all the work that went into it. Had turbulence on the plane. A lot of things went wrong. So, but when we keep the end in mind, what's the destination? The destination is try to get to Disney and have a family vacation, enjoy ourselves, right? But in
Yes.
between that time, you're gonna go through a lot of things. You can compare that to different market volatility that may take
Yes.
place, right? But if I turned around when we got to the airport and we were running late and trying to run through TSA, if I turned around and stopped or said this is too hard, then we wouldn't have been able to enjoy the destination. And once you get to that destination, you pretty much forget about all the things that happened before
Yes.
that. So yeah, that's right on the money.
Well, and to your point, what you're really paying for are memories and stories. Because, like in our family, what are the stories that we tell? It's not, hey, do you remember that perfect trip where all of the travel was smooth? No, that's not the story that you tell the when you get back or a month later or a year later or 10 years later. The story you tell is we missed the flight and then we spent the next 24 hours on planes, trains, and automobiles, trying to still get to Disney. And so, like, it's I sometimes like to describe, and maybe you feel this way too, a mortgage is just gasoline.
Mhm.
You put gasoline in a car, the car is the goal. The gasoline is just the thing that helps you get there, right? So, like
Yeah,
a wealth management client, it's like if you, well, I mean, say the sad version of this. Oh, congratulations to me. I have this money and I have nobody to take to Disney. It was like, well, you could take your money to Disney is like all that you could do. And so you're trading money for memories. It's as
yeah,
simple as
yeah,
that.
yeah. And I think what you're getting at, it's the why behind it, right? Like, yeah, we all say, hey, I want to grow my investments. I want as much as possible. I want to save on taxes. But why are we looking to do that, right? It's
Yes.
to create those memories, right? And that's, you know, as wealth managers and, here at Annex, that's what we focus on to start with. What's the why behind it?
Yes.
We can figure out the investments, the taxes.
Yeah.
We can help you get there. But
Yeah.
what's the why behind everything?
The sober, the other sober perspective, that it depends on the client that you're talking to,
Oh yeah.
but it's like, let's let's think about your obituary. I have yet to come across the obituary that lists someone's net worth at the time that they expired.
Yep. Yep.
Mostly the things you read in an obituary are adjectives and accolades. Like, I took my kids to Disneyland and it was an amazing trip and we told stories about it for the rest of my days. Not and 3 years before David passed away, Fred helped him find this tax exemption and it saved him $7,000 in capital gains. It's like, that's not the stuff that gets written.
Yeah.
I just don't know if clients really care to think about it in such black and white terms.
Yeah.
Some.
Yeah, it's hard, and it's hard to think about it when you're in the moment. And that's one of those things that's hard to do is flip that switch. A lot of us are, so focused on gotta save, we gotta
Yeah.
invest, we gotta do all the right things. Well, at the end of the day, when you pass, there's not gonna be a Brinks truck behind your hearse, right? So
Is that
only a
who
few
is
things
that
you do.
quote? Who is that quote attributed to? Or is that just ubiquitous?
That's not the exact quote, but Denzel Washington says something to the effect of that.
Wait, that's Denzel?
That's Denzel. Again, that's where I heard it from.
No,
Um,
I mean, because it's true.
yeah, I threw the Brinks truck part in there because I was like throwing the Brinks truck in there,
That's
but
fine.
something along those lines, right? Like, yeah, you save and you want to make sure throughout your life, and those things are built into your plan, that the things that you want to accomplish, the things that you want to do, you're doing them. And for some people that is, hey, I want to leave a legacy, a financial
Oh,
legacy to my kids,
yes.
or charity or whatever that may be. That's perfectly fine. But when you pass, you can't take it with you, and that's
Yeah.
that's where the planning part comes in. At. What do we do with this?
Can we I want to talk maybe a little bit more about planning, but I want to talk a little bit more about Fred
Okay.
because as I was getting ready for our conversation, I learned by creeping on you online that at one time you deliver packages for UPS?
Yes, I
Okay.
didn't. I didn't deliver packages, but I did. I was the guy up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and this is before Amazon, just kind of took logistics to a entirely new level.
Yeah.
But while I was in college, one of the ways I helped pay for college for myself was by loading packages into the truck at 4 in the morning. So um, you know, uh, definitely a job that builds character for
Well,
sure.
and
Um,
this is why it's like, do you feel that you carry some of that life experience with you as you wake up every day now and do wealth management?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I'm I'm getting paid to sit on my butt and help people achieve their life goals, right? Sit on my butt is probably a bad way to put
Yeah.
it. But I'm
We
sitting
got
in
to
a
get you that. We got to get you that up down desk, I think is what you're
yeah,
really saying. Yeah.
I'm sitting in a warm office or a cool
There you
office, whatever
go.
you prefer,
Fine.
instead of being, in UPS sweating, at 4 o'clock in the morning with no AC and carrying packages, dropping stuff on my toe, hurting my back, all those things. I mean, you just think back to those type of days, and we all have our bad days at work where things aren't going well, or you think things aren't going well. But if you think back to some of those times where you were carrying packages at UPS at 4 o'clock in the morning, it really puts things into perspective.
Is it also, I would have to imagine, I think we both come across any variety of people, nice people, people who struggle to be nice, they all bring their bag of life. Do you? And I would imagine at 4 o'clock in the morning, you get the unfiltered version of people. And do you feel? I would have to imagine that that muscle actually has pretty good parallel to the unfiltered kind of emotional pieces that come from working in wealth management. Like you get those unvarnished versions of people. Yes?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. When people entrust you with their finances, they entrust you with their money,
Yeah.
you really almost become part of the family.
Yes.
And you and I both know, David, our family, like when we're at, Thanksgiving dinner or we're just at the table, that's the unfiltered real version of somebody,
Yeah.
right?
I don't
Um,
know. Maybe. Yeah,
hopefully.
sometimes at our Thanksgiving, it's like I have to put another filter on because if I take the filters off, there's just nothing good. But go, I
So,
appreciate what you're
so you
trying to
keep you
say.
keep things peaceful. But yeah, I mean, sometimes those, and that goes back to like when I got into finance, one of the things that I want to do, I love numbers, I loved investments. But the more and more I grew in this role, it's more of a I'm more of a psychologist than anything, right? You know,
A hundred
the
percent.
the numbers and the investments, those things come along, right? The financial planning, technical stuff, we can handle that all day. But the part where, I underestimated until I, really gained that experience is, you know, you can leave clients have came into the office and they've left, crying, with happiness because they could retire,
Yes.
or they're coming in and they have a problem similar to you, right? Someone comes in, this is what I'm trying to do. They don't know
Yep.
if they can do it or not,
Yep.
but they're gonna lay everything on the table, that's either preventing them or helping them get to that point. And they're going to look for you for a solution to solve that. So that's probably what 10-20% numbers. You can figure out the problem numbers wise,
Yes.
but the soft skills is the part that really that we all have to exhibit for the most part in our days.
Yes. Well, and this is um, I like all my clients. I like easy clients, but the ones that are even more satisfying, I think a version of what you just said, is when you can take all the different pieces that someone has brought to you and turn it into a complete plan, a complete picture, and in a way where you kind of like, you almost surprise people. What's more than surprise? We're like, wait, I can buy a house? I'm like, yeah, you can buy a house. They just brought, 9 different ingredients. I think that would make, I'm a chef and they brought a bunch of ingredients and I turned it into a dish and it was like, here's a dish of go buy a house. You can do this. And that's very satisfying. Not that you don't enjoy taking a client with $100 million and figuring it out how to have them have $101 million. I'm sure there's something satisfying in that, but it's going from a bunch of pieces into a plan. That's the I mean I personally get a lot of satisfaction out of that. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Taking somebody from not having a lot to having a lot more. Um, the other thing is,
Having
someone
someone
that,
go from having a ton to having an extra ton, it's like okay, great, but
yeah,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah.
it's not quite the same.
Because here's the thing, but with that, those are different problems. But when you have a ton, the conversation, goes from, do I have enough and can you help me get there, to how can you help me not give all this to the government, in the form of taxes, right? So
Yeah.
I'd rather these go to my kids,
Yes.
or it's a charity. So the conversation does change a little bit, but everybody has their own goals and problems that they want to
Yes.
address.
Well, and yeah. So I wanted. So we started talking. I picked on UPS, but like, how did you like wake up one day and you're like, I have emotional intelligence. Like, I'm gonna go do a thing because you were at Baird for a while, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, so just going back to the beginning,
Yep.
I kind of told you. So, I went to school at UWM. When I originally went into college, my goal was to study accounting. So, I went in as an accounting major. I quickly learned that that wasn't going to be the route for me.
Yeah.
But the thing that, because I like numbers, but do I just want to sit behind the desk and, not to minimize their job? I know they do way more,
I'm
but
glad there are people in the world who like accounting so that I don't
yep,
have to.
that's a good way to put it.
Yes.
But ultimately, I fell in love with investments, and started off. So I ended up getting a job. I started my career at Wells Fargo, mutual fund
Oh,
call center. You know,
yes.
I didn't know much about
Wait,
anything. I just know I loved investments.
in the old Strong building?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's a really nice building. So a lot of local people know about that.
Yeah.
But then when I transitioned to Baird, I mean that really changed my career because I learned so much. Great company, great people, great culture there. But I started to get exposure to not only all right, these are investments, but how do we help implement these things into an overall client relationship?
Yeah.
So made some good connections, and then really started to think about, okay, I like the investment side, but now how do we integrate the other things? So I went and got my CFP. CFP is going to integrate not only investments, but you're going to look at taxes, estate planning, insurance. You're going to look at all those things
Yeah.
and how to bring those things into one complete picture. And again, every single step of my career was just like taking it to that next level.
Yes.
And then moving here to Annex, it's like that's what we focus on. We focus on comprehensive financial planning. Like
Yes.
one piece isn't more important than the other. You can't work with investments if you're not taking a look at the tax picture. So Annex
It's like
helps.
building a house. It's like investments. It's like here's a hammer. It's like great, thank you. Do you have any more tools? Like I need if I'm gonna build a house, if I'm gonna build a plan, you got a screwdriver in there? You got some
Right.
glue? Something.
I, if all you got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Right. That's another one I heard.
If you attribute that to Denzel again, we're gonna have to
Now
get the book on Denzel.
Hey, hey, Denzel's the best of the best. I don't think that one's for him though.
I would believe it if it was. But to your point, it's not just here's the tool. It's like okay, great. Well, what am I gonna make with this? Right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You have a bunch of pieces. You have a bunch of tools. How do you put all those together? Not only how do you put them together, but how do you make them work together the best way possible? Like I can have a hammer, but if I'm just using the back of it, it
Yeah.
doesn't help me at all.
Do you so getting CFP certified financial planner, do you feel like that's a a legitimizer? Like if you're about to have your first meeting with a new client, it's kind of like that I'm for real, like I didn't just walk in the door. Do you have a gravitas before you even open your mouth?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so with the CFP, you have to go through, rigorous, exam. You have to have the experience. You have to have the education. And most importantly, you have to have the ethics.
Yeah.
So not to say if you don't have a CFP, you shouldn't, you know, work with them. But in today's world, everybody can say I'm a financial advisor,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Um,
But what does that
but
mean?
what does that mean? And that's one of the things like being in the industry, like a lot of people call themselves financial advisors, but financial advising could mean, hey, I'm just an insurance salesman. It could mean I'm a financial coach. It could mean I I manage investments. So that CFP, I think, helps bring everything together. It's like, okay, this person is for real. Like you gotta put some real time into that
Yeah.
to in order to get those marks.
I someone asked me in the last week, hey, would you change anything about the mortgage industry? And my answer, I think you'll appreciate this, because I bet you feel the same about wealth management. I said, No. And there's a part of me that almost wants it to be harder, that the regulatory burden is raised that much more, because then you only get the serious practitioners, right? If you make it hard, like accounting, it's like, you know what? The people who get through accounting class, I'm glad they do, and it kind of proves that they were willing to do the thing. I don't want accounting to be easier. I want it to be rigorous, because then the people who get to the end, I know, can do the thing. And like in mortgage lending, I was saying, I don't want it to be easier to be in mortgage. Can you imagine the yahoos who would get into our business if it was easier? Like that's not good for the mature, serious practitioners. It's not good for buyers. It's not good for sellers. Like, can you imagine if wealth management, if getting into, the ecosystem was easier? It's like, how does that help clients? You just have unserious people then in the industry.
Yeah, it's not good for anyone. And I mean, the most important thing is, for the consumer and trying to decipher, who's legitimate, who's not, who can actually help me. Because, one of the biggest parts of our job is just, hey, letting the consumer know what we do. Because sometimes they don't know what they don't know. So they
Yeah.
can look at all of us the same,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So a big part of our jobs, and I'm sure you deal with this as well, is to say, this is how we're different and this is how we can help you.
Yes.
And these are the things that you should be looking for, because a client doesn't know what they don't know.
No. Well, and one, you'll appreciate that. I'm gonna toss you a softball like it's Saturday beer league.
I
But
like that.
one of my one of my favorite questions from clients is, so David, how do you get paid? Because I enjoy the transparency. It's like, let me tell you, your mortgage and your mortgage payments have value. And so we turn around and we basically sell to Wall Street the future stream of your monthly payments. That has value. That's how Accunet makes money. It's that easy. It's not voodoo hidden in forms and, deep down here on page 38 of this thing you signed. It's like, I will tell you, here's how we make money in mortgage lending. And in wealth management, the transparency or not transparency is breathtaking sometimes. Whereas, why can't it just be as simple as, here's your statement,
Mhm.
here's the line item that shows how you paid me, there, and then that's it. Isn't it that it's got to be oxygen for you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and you know, one of the things with financial planning, so there's so many different ways that advisors can get paid. You can get paid from commissions. You
Yep.
can get paid from fees. You can get paid from trailers if you're selling products and things along those lines. And they all have their place. But
That's a diplomatic answer. I appreciate
that's
that.
a hold on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there right now. I'm gonna
That's
get
a
to the the nitty gritty. And it's something that I strongly believe in. And one of the reasons I joined Annex is because we're a fee only firm.
yeah.
And the biggest thing about financial advice is it's not a product, right? Like it's not just a one time thing. Some things are one time things, in other industries where you're here to sell this product and that's all the client needs. But financial planning is an ongoing process. It's an
Yeah.
ongoing process. So instead of me getting a one time fee or Annex getting a one time fee, we haven't done our job yet. So the
The
way
job
that
the job is ongoing.
it's
How can it be
ongoing,
done?
it's ongoing, and clients want transparency. So one of the things I love about Annex, there's no commissions. Um, all costs are transparent, and you know both us and the client are on the same side of the table.
Yes.
That's the best way to me gain clients' trust is through that transparency. But to always act in the best interest of the client, you got to be on the same side of the table with them.
can I was just thinking, like, can you imagine trying to build trust by not being transparent? It's like
It is,
having a spouse and you just show up at 10 p.m. every night and be like, "Where were you?" It's like, just trust me. It's like, that's
it
not how that
exists.
works.
It exists. And again, it goes back to, clients, they don't know what they don't know. Prospects don't know what they don't know. Like they come in, with a problem. They're looking for us to solve that. But if an advisor is just selling a product and getting out the way, we know problems, especially on a financial end. There's ongoing things that have to take place, right? So
Yep.
you want the advisor to be incentivized to continue to help you throughout
Yes.
your financial journey.
Yes. All right. Well, so I appreciate you carving out some time. I want to end on like cranky old man corner,
Okay.
because at one time I had to take my Series 7 exam in a different life. And at the time it was 250 questions and they gave you 6 hours to take it. And I'm pretty sure, did they recently reduce the test to like only 120 questions? Does that sound right?
It does. So I'm right in your ball game. Like when I first started at Wells, like yeah, it was like 300 questions. You had to sit there for like 7 hours. Yeah, that was a yeah. I can see why you're in mortgage now.
Well,
Yeah.
I still to the end. If I am spongy, I will still remember that on the Series 7, it was important that I knew that if I had a client traveling internationally, that I should hang on to their mail for 3 months. That that was an important
No,
element.
you,
That was going to launch me, Fred, into
you
a.
definitely got that question right. That
I did,
specific question you got
just
right.
because it
Uh,
was so. Anyway.
but they did separate it. Where
Oh,
now you get your SIE, and that's like the entry level, and then you do the 7. I actually
okay.
don't once I got my CFP, like I don't use my 7 anymore. So,
Yeah.
but I do know that much that they split out, which I think is a good
Amazing. All right. Well, I really appreciate you carving out some minutes. It's been a pleasure. We'll do this again sometime soon. There's
thing.
always
Yeah,
something to
yeah.
talk about.
It's a pleasure as always, David. Appreciate you having me on.
Good.
Love chatting with you whenever I get the chance to.
All good. Fred Coleman from Annex Wealth Management. You've been listening to the Blue Button broadcast and the Accunet Ambassador Show. We'll see everybody again soon. Bye for now.